Please welcome the man, the mammal, and a good buddy of mine, Ace Armstrong. Come on up, Ace!
Man, you guys are fun. You guys are such a good crowd tonight. I am so excited to be here tonight. I am more excited than a Catholic priest at a Cub Scout camp right now. I'm more excited than Justin Bieber finding a pubic hair. I am more excited than Ryan Seacrest finding Justin Bieber's pubic hair. That's how excited I am. You guys are a very fun crowd. I'm really loving this guy over here because you're very thug tonight. I mean, like Fenton thug. Like you drive a domestic car, you're throwing a turtleneck at any moment. That's a good thing. What's your name?
Rich.
Rich.
Really not rich though.
Not rich. What do you do for a living? As little as possible. We can all applaud that, right? Go Rich! You know what I do when I'm not doing stand-up comedy? I am a criminal defense attorney. How y'all feeling about the justice system now, huh? Right? I love my job because I get to see how really stupid people are. Let me give you an example. Who here has some weed? No! If a person you do not know says, "Do you have weed?" the answer is no! I can be a cop! That's your legal advice for the night. That'll be $300. Baby, I know that's good. You ever been arrested? No, not you. No, not lately. Good track record. Excellent. It's scary when you get arrested. Who's been arrested, just out of curiosity? Who's? I'm not showing hands. Let me hear my clap. Yeah. There's a whole lot of potential clients in this room. I'm loving this right now, all right? But it is scary when you get arrested, right? And I know this because I almost got arrested one time. This is an absolutely true story. I had just moved to Flint, okay? And I was working at this bar as a DJ. And at the end of the night, this girl comes up. She's kind of cute. She's got big boobs. And she says, "It's my birthday, and I came here with my friends, and I've had a lot to drink, and my friends have had a lot to drink, and I don't really think it's safe to ride home with them, and you're kind of cute, so I was wondering if you could give me a ride to my house." Okay, now, the men all know this. The women probably suspect. But when you are a 23-year-old male, there is a sensor in your brain. And the job of that sensor is to detect when there is the tiniest, teeniest, most minuscule, most obscure, slightly remotest chance that you might get laid. And as soon as it senses that, it goes and shuts off every logic sensor in your brain. Am I right? Any capacity you had for rational thought goes somewhere out into the ether of the universe, never to be seen again. So instead of making any kind of inquiry or, even saying something kind of suave or cool, she says, "Can you give me a ride home?" And I say, "Okay." Lesson number 1 to be learned from this experience. If, during the course of human events, you should find yourself being asked for a ride home from a girl you met in a bar in Flint, freaking Michigan, you may want to make some kind of inquiry as to where exactly that might be. This thought starts to occur to me as we're turning onto MLK Avenue, where the houses are riddled with bullet holes, and the vehicles are all up on blocks with weeds growing through them, and big piles of hypodermic needles sitting in the seats. And as we're approaching, I see that her friends are all out, and they are in front of this 74 El Camino. Now, I don't know how many of you know what an El Camino is. For those of you who don't know, the El Camino is the bastard child of a Ford Pinto and a Datsun pickup. It is like the mullet of auto vehicles. Like city business in the front, country party in the back. And the entire bed of this vehicular monstrosity, this aberration against all things in auto nature, is filled with huge stereo speakers. I mean subwoofers the size of my head. And they are blaring out, of all things, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Hank Williams Jr. Lesson number 2 to be gleaned from this experience. If you find yourself in the middle of the hood at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bunch of dumbass white people who are blaring Hank Williams Jr. so loud it is rattling what little glass is left in the windows of the houses around you, you should leave. I don't mean like leave, I mean leave. You should not stop at stop signs. You should not stop to let anyone out. You shouldn't even slow down, right? You kick the door open, knock them out at 80 miles an hour, and you keep going, right? But the switch in my head had clicked. So instead of doing that, I said, holy crap, they're going to get the cops called on us. To which she responds in a very reassuring tone, the cops won't come out here, they're afraid of the gangs. Lesson number 3. See lesson number 1. So we pull into her house, and she starts to get out of the car, and she says, would you like to come inside? Now, somewhere in my head, part of my brain is starting to wake up. And so I'm starting to think, maybe this isn't such a great idea. But as she's getting out of the car, she inadvertently kind of leans forward. And I get a shot of the Grand Canyon. There are, I kid you not, like 12 feet of cleavage showing right there. And the switch in my brain says, you're going inside because you might get laid. So I reach for the door handle, and as I reach for the door handle, this beat-up piece of crap panel van comes flying around the corner, screeches to a halt behind the driveway, blocking me in, and these big guys with guns jump out and start throwing people on the ground. Now at this moment, you've got to remember something. I am fresh off the combine from Missouri. Right. Which, by the way, you guys know what state Missouri is, right? What state is it?
Show me state.
The show me state, that's what they tell you. Believe you me, the first time you actually try, they will start throwing around words. Like indecent. Which, by the way, I think is a little too unnecessarily judgmental, don't you? And because they just say, I seen better. But anyway, so these guys are all jumping out of this van, throwing people on the ground, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to have to call my mom and explain to her why I got killed in a gang war. But somewhere out, where I come from, you got to remember, I am not what one would call street. Right? Where I come from, a drive-by shooting involves a 12-pack of bud, a 14-gauge shotgun, and a stop sign. Okay? But someplace in the little lizard part of my brain goes, you know, gangbangers probably don't bring flashlights. And I realize I'm in the middle of a drug raid. Lesson number 4. Being caught in a drug raid is not necessarily an improvement over being caught in a gang war. Because this cop pulls me out of my car through the window, throws my hands behind me in a position that a person without cerebral palsy cannot normally get into, throws me down into the mud, and puts this gun right on my eyeball. Now, when I say a gun, I should really clarify. Because it wasn't so much a gun as it was the front cannon from a Sherman tank. I swear to God, this thing was like 8 feet around, right? And the cops start screaming at me, where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? Lesson number 5. You guys didn't know there was going to be math involved tonight, did you? Lesson number 5. When you are on the ground, in the mud, with your hands behind your back and a howitzer cannon this far away from your brain case, with a cop screaming, where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? Probably the best answer to give is not, I don't know, have you tried Rite Aid? It turns out cops don't have a sense of humor. Who knew? So I'm laying on the ground and the guy is yelling, where are the drugs? I'm like, I don't know. I have no, he's pounding my head into the ground. Where are the drugs? I don't know. And to her credit, now the girl is on the front porch. I should explain this, by the way. I should go back and explain. When the cops showed up and they searched the girl, they throw her on the ground, they find like a packet of cocaine in her bra. Now, had the evening gone according to plan, I would have discovered that eventually. Lesson number 6, however, if you find yourself giving a ride home to a girl who lives in the middle of the hood in Flint, freaking Michigan, because you met her at a bar, you may want to ask her, are you perchance carrying? Because that would be good to know beforehand. So she's sitting on the porch. Her brother tried to run. They tackled him. They found a 9mm and a switchblade knife and as well as a little packet of heroin in his sock. So he's sitting on the porch with her, and to their credit, they're both yelling out, he doesn't know anything about it. He's the DJ from the bar. He doesn't even know us. He has nothing to do with this. Lesson number 7. Apparently, the words of a couple of junkies are not good enough for a cop. Again, who knew? So the cop is not buying this at all. He's slamming my head against the ground. Where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? And they're screaming, he doesn't know anything about it. He goes, if they don't know anything about it, what are you doing here? Like, dude, I was just trying to get laid. Lesson number 8. That apparently is a good enough reason for a white boy right off the combine from Missouri to be in the middle of the hood with a girl with big boobs. So he runs me through, finally runs me through what's called LEAN, Law Enforcement Information Network, for the 2 of you in here who've never been arrested. And he runs my plates and he realizes that I'm telling the truth. So at long last, the guy finally decides he's going to let me go. And now this is the best part of the whole story, and I swear to God this is absolutely true. So they move the van so that I can get out, right? And I get in my car, and I start to back out, and as I'm backing out, from the front steps, in handcuffs, the girl yells out, call me. And anyway, that's how I met my wife. You guys have had a lot of fun. My name is Armstrong. Thank you so very much. You guys are fun.